Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another round of the Sim Racing Collective PC GT3 Series here on Assetto Corsa Competizione. My name is Zach Sweeney Kelsey Gill, back alongside me in the commentary booth. Kieran Sharp, of course, pushing the buttons behind the scenes and making sure that everything is looking as gorgeous as ever. We've ticked over the halfway point of the season. We're here for round number 4. Usually, the returning members of the TSRC will know this is our altered format round. Typically, we'd go for a sprint race, so two 25-minute races. This season, though, we're going to spice it up. Still keeping the reverse grid championship format, but only one long 40-minute race to decide it. Of course, you can see each of the classes divvied up between pros, silvers, and AMs, and all of them reversed in their respective championship order, which should make for a lot of fun. Kelsey, here at Silverstone, bring it on.
Yeah, we've been here before for sprint races in the past, but reverse grid race here at Silverstone is going to really offer some exciting moments. There's a lot of fairly decent overtaking opportunities if you can get yourself close enough to a car ahead, but we may see a lot of drivers finding themselves in a bit of a train of cars, just making it a little bit harder to overtake, just with the nature of this circuit at times as well. So we could expect some very hectic racing. I mean, Damian Konchik, current championship leader in the pros, he'll be looking to get his way clear of Aligna and Hislop as quickly as possible, and I'm sure the likes of Troyer, Parn and Wright, they'll be fighting their way through the silvers in that middle of the grid there, and then there'll be a little scrap between the 4 AM drivers toward the back as well for that lead of the AM race, sorry, as we continue on. It's looking like a decent race, a decent track for it as well. We love coming to Silverstone, Zach. It's a great track.
It is, especially sort of in the GT3 machines as well. I mean, when it comes to racing, it can sometimes be a little bit iffy. Obviously, with it being such a fast, flowy, fun circuit to drive, doesn't necessarily transfer itself into being a fun, flowy circuit to race as such, because you're not on the brakes for very long. You know, you've got turn 1, which is fast, turn 2, which is fast, turn 3, braking zone, turn 4, braking zone, Brooklyn's at turn 6. I mean, again, kind of, but not really. It's still a fairly fast corner. And then obviously Cobbs, Maggots, Beckett's, all really no-goes. Stowe, you're only really on the brakes for a little while, so again, not really an overtaking opportunity as such. It can sometimes be difficult, but with the fact this is a reverse grid race, still 40 minutes in length, so kind of a strategical element to sort of play factor, we should still hopefully see a good race here because of all those other added variables to throw into the mix.
Yeah, we should. With the faster drivers essentially trying to find their way through the grid, then there's definitely that little element to just sort of mix up the drama that we could have here. And it's a chance really for the likes of Hislop and those toward the bottom of the tables that they're respectively in to make their way up the grid, make their way up in the championship if they can find a way to finish toward the front as well, and just find ways in order for them to sort of compete toward the front. I mean, it's not necessarily to say that, you know, Hislop's going to win today, or that that Nieto's going to win today, or Cisco's going to even win today. But it gives them that chance without having to go through the trials of qualifying and making that lap. And we're almost done with this warm-up lap here, Zach, and it's going to be an interesting one. It looks like Konchik's put some paint on his car finally on that what was once all-black Ferrari, and I wouldn't put a bet against him in being on the top step this evening.
No, definitely not. He's already taken 2 wins this season, obviously at rounds 1 and 3. Let's see if he's going to be able to take round 4 as well. The thing about the pros, both a good and a bad thing, bad for us in the booth, good for them out on circuit, is that obviously Konchik and Aligna are 2nd and 3rd, so they've not really actually lost anything from the reverse grid as such. Hislop, though, up there, did, to be fair, fight quite a lot. Obviously, 2nd place at Paul Ricard, so let's see if he's able to replicate some of that success here today at Silverstone. He, of course, controls the pace. He's alongside Dominic Aligna, Konchik and Nieto at the 2nd row. That very gorgeous Ferrari 296. I do absolutely love the way the Konchik has liveried that car. The green flag will wave. 40 minutes, of course, on the clock. Clear skies here in Silverstone. Round number 4 of the Sim Racing Collective PC GT3 Series here in the UK, with Josh Hislop on pole and Aligna alongside, is underway. Before we head our way into Copse Corner, you can see already trying to dart his way the long way round is Aligna. What a move for the lead. Bold, brave, brilliant, arguably, from the German. And, of course, immediately Josh Hislop having to play second fiddle plenty of carnage in the background, as you can see, nearly 3 wide going into Maggott and Beckett, and there, Mav Gardner, a very lucky save going off at Maggott.
Yeah, lucky to keep it out of the wall there in that BMW, and he rejoins the track. Perhaps no, that's a different car there. That looks like a McLaren rejoining the track nice and safely, going through the Chapel curve there. But there's a bit of a gaggle of cars. The top 3 have all gone already as well. You can see them up the road. You can see that Konchik is challenging the back of Hislop towards Stowe Corner now, and there's a bunch of cars all going into the same corner, making their way through. Marcel Hess fending them all off for the time being, able to keep them behind, but it looked like Eligna was just able to get that much better start, as there's drivers looking for a dart up the inside of the Vale chicane there, not quite making it out. Looks like Bloodshed might have lost out of place perhaps in that tussle there, or at least he has on the first lap as far as this is concerned. But we continue on with the racing, and as I was saying, Eligna just looked like he was able to show the acceleration advantage that Audi had, and it really propelled him forward into the top.
He did, yeah, just put his foot down and was committed with it. Here's Sasha Powell looking to the outside of the Porsche, I believe, of Elias Troy on his inside. So unfortunately, the championship leader not really able to make much headway forward. You can see they're left to dry on the outside of the loop. Could well invite Chucho Gimeo in the fellow Porsche as well, just in behind. Sasha Powell through into P11 overall. So we've already ticked lap 1 into the books, and we've still got plenty more to come after this one. Into Brooklands, and no major changes as of yet. Already, though, a big divide between the top 3 pros and the rest of the field. 4 seconds separates Konchik from Hess.
Yeah, it's already a big gap. It just shows you the divide really in the speed of these drivers here. And well, perhaps Marcel Hess is just acting a little bit like a bottle cap really. He's keeping all of these drivers behind him, making that Porsche as wide as he possibly can. And like we said just before the race began, as Paulo Cisco, a little drift there from the 97 machine as he just keeps that car on the road coming through Copse Corner as we go along. But he's sort of acting like a bottleneck, and we said that it's going to be tough to make some overtakes around here. You could definitely it's definitely a wide enough track to make those moves, don't get me wrong. If you can get close enough and you can draw level, as it looks like Zampieri is trying to do here, but it just isn't on it. It was a different car actually. I think it might have been Troy or Powell. Yes, it's the cars ahead. It's the camera tricking me as we go along. I think Kieran Sharp's just testing my ability at the minute.
It's easily done. You don't really take much to give you a test, and you failed, so it's fine. We have already got Andrew Pike in the issue. I was expecting him a little bit sooner, to be honest, but he's here. He's raring to go, ready to give us some hassle. And don't worry, Nathan, who was here last week, we also got our fair share over the course of last week, which is always good. Just ahead of this battle, by the way, James Wright trying to pick his way past Ryan Blanchette going into turn number 3 here at Village. No way through, gets given the space by the Ferrari, and look at that, Glanovski nearly trying to sail his way to the outside, inside of course 3 wide momentarily. There comes the BMW of Urison trying to nip his way through as well. It's deterred of course by Glanovski, sort of second guessing himself, and that is actually going to put Urison on the back foot. Here comes Nieto through, of course did start towards the front end of this field, and is now trying to find a way past. There's Sasha Powell as well, making some good headway. Bit of contact going into Brooklyn, sending each other wide. The 410, of course, sent off momentarily, and Elias Troy now in the mix.
Yeah, Glanovski's McLaren just had a little bit of a bump in the road there. I don't know what that was. Maybe it's a little bit of lag or something on the Sim's end, but definitely something a bit strange going on there with the car. But he gave it a little move in toward the loop, and Powell's under threat as they come through Copse Corner. It's Elias Troy having a look with that Porsche down the inside. Not able to go through here, but he might be able to draw level again as they come in towards Maggott and Beckett as they go. That Porsche just looking for a way past the McLaren ahead. The McLaren obviously taking a much deeper line through Copse Corner, but looking very, very quick compared to the car ahead of him coming in towards Copse Corner. And Luca Raya perhaps having a little bit of a moment.
Yeah, momentarily, but all is good. Still, I mean, he's towards the back end of the outfield, but of course still plenty of this race left to go. There's Alex Nieto around the outside of Sasha Powell. You can see the 410 trying to pick his way past the Porsche, though, with the agility of that flat 6 in the front end of its chassis. Goes to the inside of Vale, tries to pick his way past, but once again the 720S with its agility once more goes to the outside and gives the Porsche a taste of its own medicine. Now we've got a civil war between the German manufacturers, and well, actually you've got Porsche and Mercedes, so 2 loads of Germans. And now into the outside of Abbey, you can see not quite close enough for Luca Ryan to pick his way past Elias Troy there as well, over the curb, really fluffing it up ever so slightly. And then towards turn number 3, let's see who's going to be the one to come out on top.
Yeah, definitely a big fight going on here in that mid-pack. They're all sort of in this train, all following one after the other. A little bit of an off there for Nieto on the exit of the loop and in through Aintree now. But it might slow him down as Elias Troy looks to try and close in a fellow Porsche there. He's closing along. Let's see, Mav Gardner's on the attack now as well, trying to recover his race. Down the inside he goes into the next corner. That was a fairly simple move and not much of a fight put up as he's made the move into Brooklands and now through Luffield.
Nicely done. Great racing that we're starting to see develop. Eligna, by the way, ahead of Konchik, as he has been for this entire race, but 1.5 seconds now is the gap. As Eligna makes a statement, sets the fast lap of the race. Troyer, very desperate maybe on the inside of Copse Corner, thinking about the move on Alex Nieto, but nowhere through from now, and again just biding his time, really not on the brakes for very long. It's all about setting yourself up on the exit more than anything. You can see here through Beckett's, then into Chapel Curve, and Elias Troyer, turning in way too early, had to second guess himself. And look at the difference it's made on the exit. Nieto able to put his foot down so much more effectively and potentially saving him the trouble of defending.
Yeah, I'm just taking a look over the lap times at the moment, Zach. Just out of between Eligna and Konchik at the minute. Eligna's about 4 tenths faster in that first sector over Konchik there. Then Konchik's got the advantage in sector 2 and sector 3, but only by a tenth in that third sector. He's got about 5 tenths over his 3 tenths, sorry, over his competitor in Eligna, that is, in the second sector. So it's fairly close between them, but it's a 2 tenths difference in their fastest times at the moment. Although Konchik has just closed that gap, and oh no, he hasn't. Never mind. Don't ignore me. I'm a bit rusty. I haven't been in a box in a while.
It's fine. No, it's just all the excuses coming out, one after the other. It's great. As Nieto still fighting with Troy. I have to say, for Troy, it's been a disastrous reverse grid race because, I mean, yeah, we're only 8 minutes in and only obviously about a fifth of the way through, but you'd expect him to make more headway. Right now, he's got Nieto, then 2.5 seconds up to Sasha Paul. There he's going to look immediately for a big send to the inside of Brooklands. Gets given the space by Nieto. He's going to arge and barge his way through. Nieto not willing to give up in the Italian livery Porsche. Troyer still behind and still unable to find a way past despite his best efforts. It is going to be so difficult for him to be remotely anywhere in this race.
Yeah, that's a bit hard racing between the two of them through there. They both held their line. Yeah, they came together a little bit, but that's what happens now and again in motorsport. It's all fair contact as they go through, and I think Troy has got to avoid getting frustrated by the car ahead of him. He's just got to keep his head and find that pass. It will come, trust me. He's just got to be patient and find the moment, but he's really looking. He looked to the inside of the Chapel Curve there, but there was just no way through, no space for that pink Porsche to go. So he's just got to be careful, and that's what the key word is in a race like this. Yes, it's not as short as a sprint race, but it's essentially a sprint race with that reverse grid being taken into account. And so you've just got to be patient and pick off those moves one by one. And Elias Troy, well, he's had a little bit of a torrid time doing that, as he is way down in 11th place.
Yeah, and of course that's 8th in class, which is not where Troy wants to be one bit. But then again, there are the drop weeks, which will come into factor and of course drop your lowest scoring round. Here's a very close fight. James Wright all over the rear end of Blanchet once again, looking to the inside of turn number 3, and by reverse we mean reverse grid and not race gear, as is indicated by the R on the dash. I mean, would be fun. I'd absolutely love to see a race in reverse, although it would be absolute carnage. Maybe as a pre-season test. That's how you get decided into your classes. Is a reverse race.
Oh gosh, that'd be testing the old skills in the reverse, wouldn't it? I mean, it's not that I get confused going backwards, but it's just different, isn't it? Because you're positioned forwards, but you're going back the other way, so you've got to turn one way to go the other. It's like steering a boat, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, but then again, the wheels are still going to point you in the direction that you turn. If you turn left, you're still going to go left. it's just that weird sensation that the front doesn't go left. It swings out to the right, but you're still
Like a
turning left as
forklift.
such. Yeah, right, exactly. Anything with sort of rear wheel steering as such, which is again an interesting sensation. But I'm sure these guys would manage. Of course, if they do it in electric vehicles, then they can go just as fast backwards as they can forwards. I think is the way that it works. Here's Ryan Blanchett looking backwards from him. Of course, he's not in reverse. He's firmly parting forwards, but definitely going to be looking in his mirrors as he's got, of course, James Wright trying to pick his way past him. He's going to look to the right-hand side. Is the McLaren. There's also Glanovski trying to pick his way past as well. We've got a Ferrari sandwich with good old McLaren bread. Now into the Vale chicane. Can the Ferrari launch a counter-attack? He's going to give it a good look straight away. Glanovski, as we've already seen, very punchy in this race. He's going to be even more punchy through the Vale. Now into the right. Blanchett with the agility to go the long way round. It's a drag race towards the next apex here at Club. They're going to run side by side across, of course, the old start finish line here at the Grand Prix layout. Blanchett now going to be stuck on the outside for Abbey. Let's see what Glanovski can do by the time they reach turn number 1, as it is normally. And there we go, is through. But Urison getting all sort of caught up, and Sasha Pole straight through on the inside.
That could have ended in tears, that, for a moment there, but thankfully it didn't, and it looks like Urison might have got the move done maybe as well. They're still side by side as they're trying to make up places, and perhaps not. He's maybe even just got overtaken, yes, by Powell he has, as they've gone forward. So not the best attack from Urison as they go through. It looks like Blanchett in the meantime is trying to get his way back past Glanovski just up ahead. He was on the grass for a moment as they headed down to Brooklands. A staunch defence from Glanovski there, and Blanchett with nowhere really to go. He lost a couple of places. Wright's gone off up the road. He'll be chasing after Marcel Hess, and we've got some hitters as the pit window is open, Zach.
Yeah, of course, for the next 17 minutes and 50 seconds, basically, until 10 to go, they're allowed in to the pit lane, and of course that's indicated by the orange box with a white 1 in it next to the driver's respective number. That indicates whether or not they've taken their mandatory stop. All it is a mandatory, I believe, 35-second refueling, and then of course they're released and that's ticked off. They don't need to take tyres, they don't need to take anything, just the fuel, and then they're free to do whatever they like for the rest of the race. So stretching tyres to the end, probably going to be the way to go, because you are going to gain, or lose I should say, probably a good extra maybe 5-10 seconds on top of your pit stop as is. I mean, they are changing the tyres as well as fueling, but still the tyre change takes a little bit longer, I believe just about 40-45 seconds or so to actually get it done. And I don't think in a 40-minute race, of which you're going to spend, say, 20 of them on new tyres, you're going to be able to make it benefit enough to see a return on your investment in 5 to 10 minutes worth of, or 5 to 10 seconds worth of time lost in the pit lane in only 20 minutes of race time.
No, I don't think so. I mean, it is quite a heavy load track, as it looks like James Wright just trying to go on the attack now of the Porsche of Marcel Hess. Looked to the inside, but couldn't find a way through. And now they go back through the loop. Can he get the exit through here? It's important to get a good exit through the loop. It sets you up for Aintree, and then down the hangar straight we go. As we go in towards Brooklands, is it going to be enough for James Wright? Not quite.
No, so Hess still able to stay in front, and of course with a huge gap up to the top 3, who themselves have got huge gaps to each other. Aligna making a real comeback in this race, to be fair to him, because of course struggling last time out at Spa. A couple of mistakes led the way to allow Damien Konchik to, of course, take another victory. Aligna wants to bite back on that, and of course with the fastest lap as well, could sort of stake another claim in the championship, but essentially Konchik would get a second place back. He's going to essentially just scrap off 1 second place for another, as is his lowest score so far is only second. I mean, Aligna's is third, so not really much between them at all. Only 5 points in the championship as 8 points in the championship as it stands. But I'm sure with Aligna's potential victory here today, I mean, there is still over half the race left to go. This could really spice up the championship into those final 2 rounds.
It certainly could. A little bit of a update, although it has changed a little bit on those fastest laps toward the front. 57.4 for Aligna, 57.417 and 57.425 for the lap times currently recorded, although it looks like Aligna's gone even faster by a couple of tenths, so it's still very close between Aligna and Konchik, more or less matching each other over the course of a lap. And I think Konchik's just starting to maybe get his foot in. He's maybe just starting to get a bit of a sway, but where one driver improves, another driver falls off. So there's still a lot of tugging and towing between the two of them. But no real change really in the gap between the top two as we continue to watch this fight between Marcel Hess and James Wright.
Great treat. And Hess not really wanting to give much leeway, if any, versus James Wright, who of course is sat third in the championship, only 2 points off Elias Troyer, who will take, of course, what is that going to be, a 5th place in class as stands, which will be his drop score, but he will then, actually no, he's already got a DNF, so he will just take 5th place, which will be huge gains for James Wright in the championship, potentially the championship lead. That's why Sacha Paul is so important for him also to have a good race. He's already been in. James Wright also in. Marcel Hess stays out again to retain the lead. But that's Silver Championship. I mean, I sort of forgot about it for a second. My focus was on the pros. But then I look, and we've got the top 4 separated by 5 points. The top 5 separated by 12. Which is absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things, with only, 2 rounds to go after this one. Insane stuff. And effectively means that each position is a position in the championship.
Yeah, for sure. It's so close between those silvers there, and it's the largest contingent of drivers out on the grid as well. Slightly larger than the AMs, of course, and obviously both categories being much larger than the small pro contingent that we have here. It was 4 drivers at the beginning, but it's only 3, as Samuel Chumley has not made it to any of the races this season. But it's the closest battle between all of them, and I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's still definitely time for the other championships to start livening up a little bit. There's time, perhaps, for Aligna to try and stretch his legs in the championship. But I don't know. Konchik's looked very unbeatable. Really, it's first, second, first, with second being his drop round. That's pretty much perfect, honestly, for as far as it goes to start off. And if he can. He may end up picking up another second place here. I don't know yet. We've got another 22 minutes or so of racing left to go, but there's definitely time for it to change. But it's certainly silvers is where the action is right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mighty championship battle here. It is, of course, Elias Troyer and Sacha Paul, both of them fighting for respective places in the championship. The McLaren gets the up and under. Elias Troyer forced to assume a defensive position into Vale. The McLaren tries to be later on the brakes. The Porsche edges him up to the outside of the circuit, and of course, able to stay ahead by the time they reach the next apex of the Vale chicane. So nicely done by Elias Troyer. Of course, those two are the top 2 in the championship. They've got 1 win and a 3rd place apiece between the pair of them, so it is a direct fight in the championship. The only thing that separates them is the point for fastest lap. But James Wright is having an absolute worldie of a race out there today. He could be one to watch into, of course, when we head to Bathurst and, of course, the Nürburgring for round 6.
Yeah, certainly. And well, Bathurst really is going to be a challenging circuit for all the drivers there. There's so many. First, I'll say epic, but also tricky sections of circuit. So we could well see some retirements during that race. But it's definitely going to be one to watch, 100%.
Well, it always is. Bathurst, in of itself, of course, around about the date that the Bathurst 12 Hour is taking place. Of course, the special event of iRacing, of course, a real world event as well. Potentially the first one with rain, maybe, I think. Of course, we saw that with iRacing. They have just released the update of rain. I'm not entirely sure if it'll be integrated soon. Soon enough, obviously, for the Bathurst 12, which I think is next weekend. Of course, basically bang on time with the Bathurst round that we've got now. So fingers crossed, obviously, for that. It's been a long time coming, of course. iRacing is nearly as old as I am, and there's not any rain in it as of yet. ACC, though, this amazing sim we're on right now, has got it and has had it since release, and it's actually a fairly decent rain model. In the background, I think we're following, of course, with Marcel Hess. Saw some side-by-side. That might have been, I'm not entirely sure actually as to who it was, but definitely some people defending. Might have been, I mean, Troyer and Parla very close. Don't necessarily think it was them. There they are. This is the fight directly for the championship positions that separate them. Of course, James Wright is there, and they are, sorry, a silver leader, I should say, into the pit lane. Marcel Hess to take his mandatory stop.
Yeah, into the pits. Looks like a bunch of other drivers following him in as well, getting those stops out of the way. Aligna in, Konchik still out on the circuit, Hislop still out on the circuit as well, Glanovsky out on track, yet to make his stop. Almonte and Bandera, the only other two drivers not to make a stop yet. Hello, Phil across the pond in the JP Broadcasting chat. I hope you're keeping well, my friend. But still a few drivers left to go, but we still got 9 minutes left of the pit window open, so there's still plenty of time to go in. Aligna should have enough of a lead that it's not going to be too detrimental for him to go for that undercut, but unless he takes tyres perhaps, which I don't see why he would, to be honest.
No, I really don't see it. There is James Wright, of course, rounding into Abbey. There is Massa. No, that was Cops that he was running through. There is Massa now leaving the pit lane. Exits, of course. Where is his nearest championship rivals? There is actually Elias Straw and Sasha Paul making their way past. That is a huge undercut, despite the fact they've been battling.
Yeah, undercut really seems to have worked out here. I mean, the pit lane is not as long. I suppose it is almost just as long, really, where it is on this iteration of the Silverstone circuit. It's probably a little bit longer and slower where you start on the Hamilton straight rather than on the straight down towards Copse. So there's definitely a bit more in it, and it seems that undercut really has worked for the likes of James Wright, Urison, Troyer and Powell, because Hess has come right out in this, and now looks like Troyer's trying to make moves on Urison in the BMW, but he's under attack from Powell now as well. They're side by side through the club corner, and off the track goes Elias Troy, but he continues to stay side by side perhaps, but it looks like Powell's got the advantage as they go through, but the speed goes to the Porsche, holds it around the outside, gets straight back through, nimble and quick is that pink Porsche. Powell got anything to go with around the outside, he doesn't, and it's the position back for Troy. Well defended, but that was a little bit of a shaky moment for the 63 driver.
Yeah, very close. Damien Konchik, stop go 30.
Oh,
speeding in the pit lane, and what a championship defining moment this well could be. That will tumble him of course to third place in the pros. That's the lowest he can score, so he will effectively finish second for this race. But in the overall championship, of course, don't forget that's what they are also fighting for, which could arguably be a little bit more important for some of these pro drivers, seeing as there is more volume in the overall championship. That's going to be a big hit for him.
Well, it draws Dominic and Damien almost level, I suppose. It will be, well, no, they will draw them level actually on results, because both of their drop rounds will become a P3, and then if both won a race, well, won 2 races, if obviously Aligna wins this race, and both have a P2.
Yeah, Elias Troy getting very drifty out there, by the way, going into Magnussen Beckett. He's fighting at the moment with Urison. Glanovsky now leads did lead the silver class. He's fighting with James Wright momentarily, but now behind, of course, Urison. So everything's sort of filtering itself out as it should. But James Wright, of course, with a 7.8 second lead now in the silvers, looking very strong indeed. Of course, Almonte out there, but he, don't want to say irrelevant, but kind of irrelevant to that lead fight. We'll see where he filters out, of course, a little bit later on. But this fight here for second, because James Wright will effectively just take the championship lead this race as long as he doesn't completely die out on circuit and lose so many places. But this fight, Glanovsky, Powell, Troyer, all in the mix, directly for championship position.
Yes, certainly. And this stop go 30 for Konchik has really thrown a fly in the ointment. Although, where is he now? He's just come up to the pit lane. Is he coming in? Is he going to serve it? No, he's staying out. He's just gone through Woodcock now. Oh no, he is in the pits. It just didn't show him going on the track map, which was weird. So he has gone into serve his stop, which is probably the better decision, because the penalty for not serving it is much worse.
Yes, but then again, it is a long pit lane here. Elias Droy to the outside of Sasha Paul. McLaren has none of it. Porsche tries to get the up and under into Luffield, assumes the outside, but once again putting the McLaren on the back foot, trying to put as much pressure onto him as possible, leaving Luffield, of course, the best exit possible. That McLaren, so strong around Silverstone. Even when I used to race on ACC back in the day, really effectively when it first came out on console, which was what, a good 3-4 years ago or so. The McLaren was always really strong around Silverstone. Here comes Lars Troyer, searching for the gap into Magnus and Beckett. These two are just going at it. Of course, hammer and tongs.
It's British bias, isn't it? That's all I got to say. No,
That's the most British way you could say that. British bias in it. Kelsey, you might as well just let the Americans take the mick out of us, mate.
Nah, it's all right.
Well, they can't. They can't. They physically can't. They do not have a leg to stand on.
I mean, they call the pavement the sidewalk. No, they have to know where they need to walk.
Yeah, I know. They're just. I won't get into it as to obviously. Hopefully, have the side of some Americans next time the semis come round, because I would like that to be the case, of course. But I won't go too much further into that. At least they're not. Then again, I was about to say at least they're not as bad as the French, but I mean, it depends. Sometimes everyone has their moments, don't they? Everyone hates the English anyway, so we really have absolutely nowhere to stand. Full stop as such. There in the background, of course, Ganovski versus Paul and Troyer, who once again are going side by side. So this silver battle really is heating up. Goes in deep, does the McLaren, too wide, too deep as well as side by side just ahead. Paul holds firm, goes in deep. The up and under though from the Porsche through the hanger straight towards Brooklands. Of course, he has got the inside for entry as well. Could be the fight for fourth.
Yeah, it certainly could. And Troy are really under pressure, and they're 2x2 just ahead of them as well. That's Urison and James Wright. Is it? No, it's Skulinovsky. Sorry, it's James Wright's well up the road. He's gone. He's checked out of this race. But up the inside goes Skulinovsky. They were side by side through Brooklands, then through Luffield, and the better line is the inside through Luffield, as the outside tends to leave you stranded on the off the circuit. And you saw that just there. Skulinovsky back up ahead of the BMW into P2 in this silver fight, with Paul getting the best of Elias Troyer after battling him, but Troyer's coming back at him side by side in towards Maggots and Beckett's. This ends in tears normally. Are they going to keep it clean? They do. Troyer sneaks up the inside of the first part of the complex, gets the move done. That's very, very brave through there, as we have seen plenty of times before. That end in absolute agony. Yeah,
it doesn't take a lot for things to go drastically wrong here at Silverstone, as I'm sure everyone effectively is aware. Again, small things and big consequences. Thankfully, though, we didn't see any of that so far here today. Elias Troyer up to 6th overall, 4th place in class, potentially looking for more, though. In effect, I mean, again, coming in today with the championship lead, his role is purely damage limitation. Same too for Damien Konchik in that overall championship, because it's a disastrous race. As good as that car looks and as good of a driver as he is, that small mistake of speeding in the pit lane has led itself into disastrous consequences of fighting right down at the back of the field.
Yeah, and you've got him here. He's fighting amongst Almonte and Bandera, the two silver drivers, as they're going through. He may look like he's in P15, but we're going that as far as the minimum position he can get is P3, of course, as he is there's the third other AM on the timing tower there. So not too big of a drop. It just means it's going to be a bit, I'd imagine it would be actually be equal at the top of the pros, as they'd have the exact same results.
Of course, fastest laps and things to take into account. But yeah, effectively, what this does mean, though, is that Damien Konchik cannot make a mistake for the rest of the season. Of course, there are only 2 rounds, but what it will mean is that Aligna will have a 5th place in pocket compared to, then again, actually, it'd be 14th at the moment for Konchik. In the pros, of course, the lowest they get is a 3rd place effectively, so they'll be matched in that regard. But when it comes to the overalls, Enigma has a 5th place in pocket, which means the lowest that he can finish is 5th as such, because even if he finishes 6th, then he's going to be perfectly fine. There is championship leader Elias Troyer losing the rear end of that Porsche going from Magnussen and Beckett, able to bring it back onto the circuit, albeit with probably some leftovers in his underwear as he exits. Let's see how it happened. And it was a huge snap and very nearly saved. A slight tap to the barrier, but that definitely could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, it looked like he just lost the rear then, and it oversteered in toward that barrier. And thankfully, it wasn't too hard of a contact, but he'll be kicking himself for that. He's right back in the mess of cars where he didn't want to be. He's side by side with Marcel Hess, gets the better of him through the Vale chicane, gets that late braking, gets that car rotated and ahead of his fellow Porsche driver, but he's now down essentially back where he started this race when we were first talking about him, back in 8th as far as his class goes. So he's going to have to make up all those places he gained over the pit stop again. And I think the best he can do is get to the head of this train, which would be in front of Luca Ryan.
Yeah, which is going to be tough, especially if he keeps driving like that. Big snap. Marcel Hess, who of course was leading for the best part of the first stint. Here's Jeremy Urison fighting with Sasha Paul. The McLaren, of course, on the left of Paul, looking to find his way past. That's the inside for Brooklands. That very chunky BMW M4 trying to go the long way around. The 69 machine makes a bit of contact with a very sleek and agile McLaren 720S. He finds his way through. Up now into third in class.
Yeah, good little battle. And Paul's been looking like he's been quite pacey in that McLaren anyway. The McLaren's occupying 3, 4 and now 5 on the grid. That's Marcel Hess round. The German driver not having the best time of it through Luffield there. Let's see how that happened. He goes through, goes to pull alongside Elias Troyer, and Elias Troyer, oh dear. He rejoins the circuit after going off and tags Marcel Hess in that one. That one might appear in the steward's room as an unsafe rejoin on the circuit there. Elias Troyer's day goes from bad to worse.
Yes. Again, drop rounds and things always play a factor, so they do get one freebie, but Elias Troyer, for him, his freebie was round number 1 for a car where he did not finish, which really puts a disastrous taint over his championship as a whole. Looking for, of course, success, but, well, come on, maybe 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th best, potentially, even at this point, with how well the rest of them are doing. Wright winning, of course, Paul there in 3rd in class, Glanovsky up there, Urison up there. Probably not going to be the case that actually, let's work it out. So, of course, there's a 12-point gap to Gromovsky, who isn't here today, but Glanovsky is a 16-point gap. So, let's see how many Glanovsky can gain. So, 2nd in class is 24. Side by side here momentarily, Luca Ryan versus Blanchet. So, of course, 24 for 2nd. Troyer is 8th, and that gets you 13. So there's 11 points, which effectively over halves the gap for Glanovsky to Troyer. Just think how disastrous that's going to be for him relative to those that were genuinely really close to him, the 1, 2, 3 point deficits around him. It's a big turning point in the championship for Troyer as he's once again back into the pit lane. Yeah,
for sure. He may have some damage perhaps on that Porsche. Maybe he's just frustrated and has had enough perhaps. I'm not sure here. But it's going to be detrimental in a championship so close as the Silvers is right now, that this round is really going to have taken a toll on him, I think, as far as his championship standings go. He's got 2 more rounds to try and claw something back, but whether it'll be the championship lead or the win at least, I don't know. I'd hazard a guess that it's fairly unfeasible now.
Yeah, difficult. Improbable, not impossible, until it's physically not possible, i.e. you're outside of the points range going into the final round. But 6 minutes 20 of round number 4 of the TSRC PC GT3 Series, which over a year and a half into, and still does not flow off the tongue as much as I'd like it to. Ryan Blanchet on the back of Luca Ryan, of course. This is the fight for 6th place in class, 8th place overall. Blanchet still no way through in a very American-looking Ferrari 296, must be said. Of course, to actually buy the 296, and to be fair, when it comes to buying any supercar, you have to be on sort of an elite list to purchase it from a dealership. Same goes for sort of the Porsche 992 GT3 RS and high Lamborghinis and stuff, particularly obviously the 296 and the 296 XX. I don't necessarily know how appreciative Ferrari would be to see such a Ferrari painted in bagel run across the sideboard. He's trying to move his way past Luca Riot. Big bit of contact between the two of them, and of course through the loop, always a bit sketchy. Getting the exit though, very argy-bargy between the pair of them. I think he's going to bagel run his way through.
Yeah, a little bit of argy-bargy, a little bit of pushing and shoving to try and get in there. You saw him mount the curb as he went down the inside. Continues his run down the inside. Car number 5, Ryan Blanchet, gets the job done. Will the Mercedes try and come back at him? You saw that that Raya just tried to maybe take a little look around the outside. Hard to do at Luffield. And into P8 goes Ryan Blanchette. There's our lead driver, Dominic Kaligna, untouched all race. He's gapped to Hislop 17.7 seconds. He currently has the fastest lap of the race, which I believe was a 1 minute 56.9. As far as I can see, yes, 9:30, which he set a couple of laps ago, and not a bad day in the office for Dominic Kaligna. He, as long as he can keep it on the track for the next 4 minutes and 20 seconds, then he will come away with the maximum points haul this evening.
Yeah, huge stuff for Aligna. What a race it has been for him, and I think a huge statement to make. Obviously today with Konchik having his issues, it was Aligna's big stake back at him, because, I mean, so far this season, Konchik has looked the better driver. We've seen small mistakes, small inconsistencies from Aligna. Not, you know, we wouldn't necessarily usually expect that from him, but his driving's been a little bit desperate, a little bit scrappy here and there. Today has been faultless.
Yeah, definitely. It's been, I think, you know, it's been hard toward the front for him for the last few rounds. It's, you know, I think chasing after Konchik definitely would have pushed him that little bit further than he perhaps might have expected to go into the round. And yeah, it invites those little mistakes in there as well. You've got to remember these drivers are human. You know, they're operating at levels that perhaps people that aren't so used to sim racing are operating at. Of course, you know, they're taking in so much information, they're driving at speed, they're trying to make sure they're keeping hold of their virtual car and making sure they know the track and where they're positioning it, and making sure they're not getting into contact with other drivers as well. So it's, you know, you'd be hard pressed not to make a mistake, honestly. I think as a driver myself, I'm definitely prone to many a mistake out there. I can't go out there and say that I haven't spun during a race or made an instant. It is difficult. It's not easy to stay 100% consistent in a race at all. And it's, you know, it's you see it today from Konchik. He's been dominant, but he's made that mistake today, and it's gonna cost him. It's gonna make the championship in that pros that much more interesting, though. And it's the stuff we like to see, really, as spectators.
Yeah, no complaints from us. Obviously, we don't have to deal with all the stress of a championship. Those guys out there obviously do, and it is stressful. Obviously, when you really want to win a championship, like sort of community level and club level, and you know, you don't really care. It's just, you know, a bit of a toss around with your mates and whatever. Is what it is. You know, it's a championship. It's like, yeah, nice. But when you're actually fighting for prestige, I mean, the TSRC is one of the top rated communities on SimGrid. Of course, now partnered, I believe, with Motorsport UK, who have a big sort of stake in esports, nurture talents in sim racing, and obviously real life talents as well. Basically give them that racing course, that platform to develop their skills, develop their marketing in all areas of racing, of sim racing. So very big names in terms of this industry. So it is a big deal to win in this championship. And of course, they were a part of the VCO SimGrid Grand Finals of last year, one of the biggest events in sim racing, arguably, particularly on ACC, and again, performed really well. So the prestige is there, and with that comes tension, comes pressure.
Yeah, that's it. And you know, there's a lot to be said about performing at this level. Anyway, it's just it can be so frustrating when, especially if things aren't going your way. Perhaps whether that be in one race or multiple races as well. But these drivers are used to that. You know, they're used to this sort of pressure. It's the nature of the beast, as they say, and it's one of the things that, you know, in motorsport, the highs are very high, the lows are very low, and it's just one of those things that you have to kind of deal with. It comes with the territory. You can't get away from it. But you know, I'm sure come next week when we go to Mount Panorama for that race at Bathurst, it's going to be, you know, a reset, clean slate, and it looks like Matt Gardner's just lost the place to Marcel Hess while they've got Konchik chasing them down.
Yeah, Konchik trying to limit the damage more than anything. 10 seconds left to go in this race, by the way. Might well be the last lap. And it's going to be close, I think. The white flag will be waved. The checker flag, of course, waved on this time by. The clock ticks 0. Dominic Aligna will stake a claim in the championship and go for glory. He started second here in Silverstone. He got the win early on, and he's dominated since. Round number 4 of the TSRC PC GT3 Series once again goes the way to Dominic Aligna. The German drove fantastically. Josh Hislop, moments later, will come across the line in second. Of course, a long way down will be the third place pro of Damien Konchik, which is going to be a huge blow to him. James Wright as well in that silver class. Also a phenomenal drive for him.
Yeah, not a bad drive at all, but it looks like it might not be over just yet, as Glanovski got anything in him as they come through. Luffield now looks around the outside. The two McLarens dueling it out as they come towards. I don't think it's got anything left in through it. Coming through Woodcock now. The line is just around this tight bend. Well, I say tight, but they come across as James Wright comes across the winner with Glanovski, giving him a good run for his money there as well to chase him down. Coming P2 with Paul coming home in P3. And then there's Urison and Nieto there as well coming through. A nice P4 and 5 for those two.
Yeah, nicely done. Here's Damien Konchik, man of the day really, and not in the most positive of lights for the pole, who started third, was looking for more today. Unfortunately, P11 and third in class was the best he was able to muster up. Patricio Cameo for the AMS will come across the line. The Italian doing a splendid job in what is, to be fair, a very small Anfield. Finishes first and last of the Anfield, but will take a step closer to Giuseppe Zampieri in the championship lead, who of course is here today in 16th with the DSQ. That will become his drop round, and we'll get that third place back. Chikamero, though, with a win, will gain some points and potentially the championship lead to go with it. I believe that will be. There is our overall race winner of Dominic Aligna. What a drive, and back to the form that we'd expect.
Yeah, celebrating there, flashing the lights, just driving around, and he's done well. He didn't put a foot wrong. He got the jump on his stop right at the start. It looked flawless, really, from then on in. He didn't falter. He didn't make any mistakes. Where his rival Konchik, he did. He got that stop go 30 penalty, and he had to serve it. That was it. And it's, well, given any points gone their way for each driver for fastest lap, it's more or less equal at the top of the pros now.
More or less equal pretty much everywhere. There are the final race results, by the way. Aligna, the fastest lap and the race victory ahead of Josh Hislop and James Wright on the overall podium, and of course the victor in the AMS. Then comes Glanovski, who gave it us all towards the end of the race, but unfortunately came up 4/10 short. Sasha Paul rounds off the top 3 and takes a step closer to championship glory in the silvers. Urison, Nieto, Blanchet 6, 7, 8 ahead of Luca Raro, Marcel Hess, the top 10. Damien Konchik wanted more today. Mav Gardner Bandera 12th and 13th. Patricio Camaro winning in the AMS, but also the only AM that made it to the checker flag. Almonte Miller Cisco 16th, 15th, 16th, 17th. Lars Troyer in the end didn't make it to the checker flag. A DNF once again next to his name, and this one will count. Championship arguably over for what has been such a promising season for the Porsche. Zampieri, the one and only DSQ, there in 19th place as well. Kelsey, before we wrap up, I mean, final thoughts really more than anything. It's been a sensational round and 2 to go.
Yeah, I think pressure is one of the words of the day today. I think, the pressure got to a couple of the lead drivers there. Konchik, of course, made that mistake. Troyer, I think his race got worse and worse as it went on. And, only one AM finished as well. So that sort of sums up more or less what happened here. But if you want to put in some spice in a championship like this one, it's short 6 rounds, chuck in that reverse grid race there as well, because it has now mixed things up to make the last 2 rounds all the more interesting. So tune in next week, folks.
Absolutely. Same time, of course. It'll be the 22nd of February, 8 p.m. for those in the UK. Translate that to wherever you are around the world, because round number 5 of the TSRC is one that you are not going to want to miss. A week later, of course, we'll head to Germany, the Nürburgring, for the final round of Season 7, where I'm sure we're going to have at least one championship showdown on offer. It's close. It's going to be dramatic. Myself, Zach Sweeney Kelsey Gill, alongside me in the commentary, and Kieran Sharp pushing the buttons behind the scenes. We bid you farewell, but I'm sure we'll see you next week. Take care and goodbye.